Welcome to Loan Watch, our monthly series taking a close look at the Chelsea youngsters on loan across the globe for the 25-26 season. And we have an incredibly busy January episode to get through today, looking at 5 recalls, 5 new loans, and some good progress along the way for some other loanees. A lot of people in action. Make sure to like and subscribe for all of the latest content from Chelsea, not just the first team, not just the academy, but the loan players. We cover everything. If it's related to Chelsea, you're going to find it on this channel. So make sure to subscribe if you're not already, but diving straight into it. And last month, big month for quite a few of the Chelsea players, namely Leo Castledine getting himself a permanent move to Middlesbrough after a fantastic first half of the season for Huddersfield. Kiano Dyer also recalled from his loan move at FC Volendam in the Eredivisie. And 5 more players joined them. 5 more players recalled to Chelsea in the January transfer window. When we start with Teddy Sharman-Lowe, who has been recalled back into the Chelsea squad from Bolton Wanderers, as has Mamadou Sarr of Strasbourg, straight into the Chelsea team. He even got his first minutes in the start against Hull in the FA Cup 4th round last Friday, and he looked fairly solid alongside Fofana and Hato. Very, very happy with him coming back into the fold. We did discuss last month the possibility of Aaron Anselmino coming back into the squad. He is another one that has been recalled from Borussia Dortmund. However, he has been sent back out to Strasbourg, mainly for Borussia Dortmund running their mouth. Kendry Páez, another player recalled from Strasbourg, hasn't fit in as well as we would have hoped in the first half of the season. A lot of well-documented problems, both on and predominantly off the pitch, to be completely honest. So fingers crossed he has now gone back out to River Plate. Fingers crossed being a little bit closer to home, a little bit more familiar with the culture and the people. Fingers crossed he can kick on and have a fantastic second half of the season. David Fofana was also recalled from the Turkish Super League from Fatih Karagümrük. He has been loaned back out to Strasbourg in the absence of Emmanuel Emega, playing back up to Panicelli. Fingers crossed it's a positive second half of the season for him. And the 5th and final player that was recalled from the loan, Caleb Wiley. Caleb Wiley hasn't had very many minutes this season for Watford. He has struggled with injuries, was billed as a potential backup to Cucurella when he was bought in 2024, I want to say, the summer of 2024. But he's had a couple of not particularly fruitful loan spells. One with Strasbourg last season where he struggled with injuries, and again with Watford in the Championship this season. Fingers crossed he is returning back to full fitness fairly soon. I think he was expected to be fit January, February, so I'd be surprised if he doesn't get another sort of loan move in the second half of the season, or if we don't potentially see him as part of the academy. I mean, we know that players like Axel Disasi, who has obviously got a move for himself this January, but players like Axel Disasi been deputised in the under-21s when they've been struggling for game time elsewhere, so maybe it's a case of getting his fitness up and finding a move for him in the summer, or seeing if he can be integrated into the squad, but not too many minutes and not too much action to speak of, so a little bit more difficult to go off. But now talking and moving into the loan squad. Obviously, Mamadou Sarr, as I mentioned, one of 2 players brought back into the fold with Chelsea. Teddy Sharman-Lowe also goes straight into the Chelsea squad as backup for Robert Sanchez, with Philip Jorgensen still recovering from injury. I don't anticipate him getting too many minutes, so I think it would be nice for him to get a short-term loan elsewhere for the second half of the season, particularly, because he was doing exceptionally well at Bolton. I think he was progressing really, really well. Fans really liked him. Actually, the last couple of loan moves, the loan move he had last year as well, which I think was Doncaster Rovers, they really, really liked him as well. So everybody that gets Teddy Sharman-Lowe seems to be very, very happy with the results. Everybody that he plays for seems to like him a lot. So it would be very disappointing if his development, which has, been peaking and the momentum's been ranking up, very unfortunate if that was kind of stalled just so he could play second fiddle, because he's not going to be getting into the first team. And if we're being honest, we do have players like Freddie Bernal, Gagas Lanina, Max Merrick, that can come in there and do that backup role. Young goalkeepers. Chelsea are blessed with a large number of young goalkeepers in the squad. And Teddy Sharman-Lowe, I think one of the better performers this year. I think him and Ted Kurd, who's also enjoyed a good loan spell with Boreham Wood, back into the squad last night for their cup game. Yeah, I think the Chelsea goalkeepers, we have enough in our ranks at the moment in the youth space to allow Sharman-Lowe to go out and continue his development. Kendry Páez, of course, we've already mentioned going to River Plate, and Aaron Anselmino, we've also already mentioned going to Strasbourg. Borussia Dortmund, how I see the Aaron Anselmino situation, because I did say a couple of months ago, or last month actually, sorry, that it was becoming a problem. The way Borussia Dortmund were running their mouth, we've seen them do it with players like Carney Chukwuemeka in the past. The fact that we have this one-sided relationship with Borussia Dortmund where, we're happy to send our players out there to develop, and it is a development club. Let's not get it twisted. Look, I've got great respect for Borussia Dortmund, but they are a development team. They're a team that you send your loan players out. They're never going to be a Bayern Munich. So I don't think they can be upset in any way, shape or form in the way in which we've dealt with this. They were running their mouth so much publicly as well, manager, directors, as well as, plenty of paper talk, plenty of reports coming out that they were tapping Anselmino up. They were looking to get him for 15 million in the summer. It's disrespectful. Like I said, they've done it before with players and still had the audacity, the cheek to charge us full price for players like Jamie Gittins that aren't even getting into the first team. So this one-sided relationship with Borussia Dortmund, I'm glad that we've finally put our foot down. And while I don't think Strasbourg is the best possible loan move or the best possible destination for a player like Aaron Anselmino, who was, let's just say, doing absolutely fantastic, doing God's work in the first half of the season, superb individual, excellent in the tackle, looks a really, really solid centre-back. So I think it was kind of a toss-up between who we could bring back to feature in the squad in the second half of the season. It was either going to be Sarr or Anselmino. I would have taken either one. I have no inclination each way. I think Aaron Anselmino is probably a little bit more of or I would have said, is probably more of a leader, probably more of an aggressive centre-back, whereas Mamadou Sarr is kind of more of a Levi Colwill kind of set off. I do think the fact that he has had the captain's armband this season for Strasbourg demonstrates that he's already got leadership capabilities, similar to Andre Santos last season. Having these players that are mature beyond their years is a fantastic thing for Chelsea to have, because we've said it before and we've said it again. Incredibly inexperienced side, incredibly naive side, a side full of players that have not been there, done that, got the t-shirt, that don't really know what it means to play in high pressure situations. And Mamadou Sarr, to give him credit, he's an African Cup of Nations winner. And he came on in the final and he kept a clean sheet. He's come into the Chelsea team against Hull, kept a clean sheet. I really, really like the look of Mamadou Sarr. And I do think there is still room, and I will echo this. I've said that Chelsea, I think, could bring in a world-class centre-back, and that would change the entire complexion of the team. But that being said, I do have a lot of faith in players like Mamadou Sarr and Aaron Anselmino. I do like what I see. So fingers crossed going to Strasbourg, obviously sister club. They've got, a lot more inclination, a lot more reason to play him. So fingers crossed he gets a good solid run of games in the second half of this season. David Fofana, obviously another player recalled from his loan move, also going to Strasbourg. He got 6 goals in 13 matches for the Turkish side. So as I said, hopefully will provide ample backup to Joaquin Panicelli in the absence of Emmanuel Omega, who is still recovering from a thigh injury, expected to keep him out until April at the earliest. It's interesting seeing those three, because Chelsea have obviously signed David Datro Fofana with the view to being the next Didier Drogba, one of the next big things when he came out of Mulder. We've then gone and signed Emmanuel Omega after a superb season at Strasbourg last year, and he's another young prospect. What makes me laugh is they're both getting outscored and both playing second fiddle to Joaquin Panicelli, who is, I think, a signing that I had, a name that I had never heard of before coming to Strasbourg last season. Argentinian, not a massive fee, 15, 20 mil. I mean, I just find it quite funny. I'm not making a point or anything. I just find it quite funny that Chelsea have invested in these strikers that are the future, the truth, the potential, the prospects, and then they're getting outscored by some Argentinian. I mean, look, I wouldn't be surprised if Panicelli finds his way to Stamford Bridge at some point in his career. I would not be surprised at all. Staying with the French side, Mike Penders has enjoyed a very solid start to life under former Wolves manager Gary O'Neill since his appointment in January. They won the opening cup game 6-0, which has been just his only clean sheet of the month. However, they have lost just 2 of their 7 games since Gary O'Neill's been in charge, one of which was a narrow 2-1 defeat to PSG. Strasbourg still fairly well placed for European football again this season. They're currently sitting just 3 points behind Lille and Rennes in 5th and 6th. So fingers crossed they will continue to push on in the second half of the season. As we've said, players like Aaron Anselmino, David Fofana should definitely help contribute to the cause. But Mike Penders, steady staying the number 1. Steady looks fantastic. Nobody challenging him between the sticks. Long may that continue, because, I mean, we touched on the goalkeeper situation earlier in this episode, but I have long maintained that next season will be Robert Sanchez as number 1, with Mike Penders playing back up, looking to potentially usurp him at that spot. And I think that probably goes on for a season or so before Mike Penders takes over that number 1 spot. So we'll see. Let me know if you think he's primed and ready to go straight in. Is he still, does he still need to play a bit part role, or has he done enough this season to usurp Rob Sanchez as our number 1? And staying in Europe, it's been a month of ups and downs on and off the pitch for Nicolas Jackson. Started the month fantastically, contributing heavily to Senegal's fantastic African Cup of Nations tournament win. So congratulations, I think, are in order, not just to Mamadou Sarr, but also to Nicolas Jackson. He featured in 5 of their 7 games, scoring 2 goals. But since the tournament, he has returned to Germany, very much a bit part player. Played just 73 minutes across 3 matches in January. And increased speculation and paper talk this week are suggesting it's been the narrative for a couple of months now, but this week it has really ramped up. It seems definite that he will not be moving to Bayern Munich on a permanent. And while it's a delicate situation, because while I see the positives of Chelsea recouping a 14 million loan fee, practically getting half of the money that we spent on Nicolas Jackson back for a single season loan, if he is reduced to minor appearances, bench appearances, very, very few minutes in the second half of this season, it's going to hurt his development, but not just his development. It's going to hurt the fee. It's going to hurt his career move. It's going to hurt what we can charge for him. And in all honesty, I don't think Chelsea deserve any credit for the way that they've handled this, because while a lot of people, myself included, thought it was genius when the move was first announced, as it became increasingly obvious that he would not get the permanent option at the end of the season, it was just going to be a loan move. I've got a feel for Nicolas Jackson. I think A, the club didn't handle it particularly well, but B, I think his agents fucked him. I think his agents have fucked him so royally. It's like Kepa Arrizabalaga. By burning the bridges, when he went on loan to Real Madrid and burnt all his bridges to Chelsea, we couldn't recoup fuck all from him, because everyone knew the wages that he was on, everyone knew what we paid for him, and everyone knew he didn't want to be there and we didn't want him. And it seems like we are, entering that sort of territory with Nicolas Jackson, which is dangerous. And I do think the biggest shame, the biggest gripe I have with this whole situation is, I think he would do a job in this Chelsea squad. I think given the current complexion of the team, when you look at players like Garnacho, Gittins, I think Nicolas Jackson offered more last season than these two have this season. And I do think it was a shame the way his move and his career has handled, because, all that planes don't go backwards stuff. You're going to have to be, you're going to have to come up with an all-timer quote to dig yourself out of that hole, fella. Now moving back into England, and we'll work our way down through the league, starting with Ishe Samuels-Smith at Swansea City. Just a 1 appearance for Ishe in Jan. He has not played too much over the last few months, ever since their new manager came in before Christmas. But he did get 1 start against Millwall, getting 59 minutes. Swansea currently 10 points off the drop in 16th. So sitting fairly comfy, but nothing really to speak of for Ishe Samuels-Smith. He was a player that we were really excited for at the start of the year to kind of kick on, got that move to Strasbourg, that all changed in a whirlwind. Hasn't really set the game or set the championship on fire, should I say, as I thought he would. I do still think there's definitely a player there. He was one of the players that I thought was better positioned, to potentially get a first team call up. I think both in terms of his technical ability and physical development, I think he's up there. I think he's one of those players on the precipice, breaking from the academy to the first team. But it will be a steep learning curve for him this season, no doubt. Fingers crossed he can just kind of knuckle down, get the last few months, get a few more games under his belt in these last couple of months, and then we can reassess in the summer. Moving down into League One. Very positive month for a couple of players. Jimmy J Morgan at Peterborough United featured in 5 games, scoring once in a very important 3-1 win over Bolton. He's also enjoyed a very fruitful start to February with 2 goals under his belt already this month. But Jimmy J Morgan, just 20 years old, and I believe now up to 7 goals this season for Peterborough. Very good first half of the year, well, 2/3 of the year. Fingers crossed he can continue in that solid vein of form. And Omari Kellyman for Cardiff City, another player in hot form at the moment, featured in 6 games for Cardiff across January, scoring 1 and grabbing an assist in a 4-0 win over Barnsley. And Cardiff are now sitting pretty at the top of League One. They have had a fantastic couple of months. I think we spoke about them. The most we spoke about Cardiff was after Chelsea had played Cardiff in the Carabao Cup, FA Cup, because that was the only time I actually have had to watch them this season. Really, really like the style of play. Really, really like what the manager's doing over there. Another Pep Guardiola disciple. Shock horror. They seem to be sprouting on trees at the moment. But having Omari Kellyman playing consistently, getting goals, getting assists, not just getting minutes, but contributing to the team, being a key figure, a pillar of a Cardiff team that is doing exceptionally well in League One, will do him the world of good. Ever since he's, joined Chelsea, he struggled with injuries. I think when he came back from an extended period of injury, got a red card in his first game. It has been a real start to life for Omari Kellyman at Chelsea. So really good to see him picking up form, picking up momentum, and fantastic to see Cardiff sitting at the top of the league. Now moving into the less involved players. So starting off with a couple of players Brodi Hughes in League One and Ronnie Stutter in League Two. Brodi Hughes for AFC Wimbledon, Ronnie Stutter for Barnet. Neither of them have played or been featured in a match squad since November. So from what I can see, from what I can find out, they're not injured. They just haven't been involved. So I'm not sure when players like Caleb Wiley have been recalled, why these two haven't. But look, we'll be keeping a close eye on them in the coming months. So fingers crossed we have something to speak of next month. Ted Kurd is another player. I did mention him briefly earlier. He's been hampered a little bit as Boreham Wood have recalled Nathan Ashmore, their other goalkeeper, from his respective loan spell, which leaves Ted Kurd to play backup, which is a shame, as I mentioned, as he was getting solid minutes. Great experience as well from his perspective. He put in some really, really good performances, really, really good shot-stopping games. I did manage to get down to watch a home game versus Scunthorpe in January. Unfortunately, they got absolutely battered, and I think he had 1 or 2 howlers. After that, he only played 1 or 2 games and has been on the bench ever since. He did play last night, though. He got called up for a cup game. Boreham Wood won 2-0. Fingers crossed I'll get down to a couple more of those games and get some more Ted Kurd content for you. But that one, we are just hoping that his performances edge his way back into the first team. Because look, Ashmore seems like an all right goalkeeper, but they haven't kept many clean sheets. So let's see. I think Ted Kurd, again, fantastic loan move for him, but it's another one where it's a bit of a shame because such good momentum. The trajectory of his development was fantastic. I think he was developing really, really well. It's a shame that it's been stunted a little bit in this past month, but I have no doubt that a player of Ted Kurd's quality has more than enough ability to pick himself up and continue contributing. And now on to the new loan moves. Axel Disasi first and foremost. Well done, Chelsea. Well done, Chelsea, for getting Axel Disasi a move. Obviously gone to West Ham. Fingers crossed he can push for a permanent at the end of the year. I think it's a solid move for him. I think West Ham were obviously thrust into a very awkward position with that Todibo sending off against us. Left them very, very weak at the back. Max Kilman can't even pass a ball, let alone defend. So I think Axel Disasi, good move for him. I think he'll get a lot of good minutes. I think similar to the Aston Villa move, I think we're going to see a player that not necessarily is rejuvenated, but I think we are going to see a different side of him to the Disasi that we've seen at Chelsea. Because let's be honest, more often than not, Disasi was utilised, right back, left centre back, in positions where he wasn't entirely comfortable and in a team that he hadn't had much experience playing with. So fingers crossed that he can kick on and get the move that he deserves. Another player who I'm surprised didn't move permanently, but there is an option to make it permanent at the end of the season. Tyreek George has obviously gone to Everton. Loan with an option to buy, believed to be around 22 million. He has already started extremely well. Everton fans, much like Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, cannot thank us enough. Very, very good start to life for him. Long may that continue. Tyreek George, a player that I've been following for a good few seasons now, coming out of the academy. Really, really positive. Had high hopes for him last year, and I think as far as breakout years go, I think he did very well. I think the minutes, the goals that he contributed, the majority of them in the cup, some in the Conference League, but I think he got good European experience. He's a very good quality player, and if by any chance any Everton fans are watching this, look after him. He's a good kid. He's a very, very good player. Look after him. He will do you very, very well. Moving down now and into the academy, Dujuan Richards. He has moved to Leicester on loan, which I think is a fantastic move for him. We have been speaking about a couple of the youngsters potentially getting call-ups, potentially looking like they were, ready for that next step, be it a call-up and involvement in the first team or a loan move. Dujuan Richards, I think this is a great chance for him to get first-team football. I've long said that physically, he is one of the most developed players in the academy, but technically, his end product isn't as refined as players like Jesse Derry, who we saw come on for Chelsea for his debut against Hull, and players like Ryan Kavuma-McQueen, who are exceptionally good in the final third. I don't think they are as developed nearly as physically as Dujuan Richards. You compare the frame, and this is a guy that could, go toe-to-toe in the WWE, let alone the National League. But I think a championship move for him is fantastic. I think Leicester, good quality side. I think he will get minutes, maybe playing as more of a number 9 rather than off the wings, but it will be interesting to see how he develops. And luckily, my barber is a Leicester fan, so you're going to get good quality updates from Dujuan Richards for the rest of the season. Frankie Runham, another player from the academy who has gone out on loan to the Championship in Ipswich. Frankie joined Chelsea at 8 years old. He is another player that we have followed for a long, long time. Very, very good quality attacking midfielder, can kind of play anywhere across the front line, hasn't really got too many minutes at Chelsea in the academy this year, maybe because I do think there are kind of a few players that are slightly younger that are potentially slightly better and have usurped him. So I think the competition is extremely high in the Chelsea academy. So far be it from me to say this kid's not good enough or not one of the better players. I do think he is a very, very good talent. Became our youngest ever UEFA Youth League goal scorer against Dynamo Zagreb in 2023. So he's got a couple of accolades under his belt, and I think for Ipswich, it's another good move. So fingers crossed he can get some good minutes and some good development in the second half of the season. And again, another one to reassess in the summer. And last but definitely not least, another young boy, Joseph Wheeler-Henry, who signed for the Blues at 12 years old. He played a fairly big part of last season's campaign for the under-21s, but he has now gone to Brentford B team, which I think is a fairly solid move for him. I think he's already had a really, really good first month. I haven't looked too much into it. We will discuss it more in next month's episode, but I think it's a good move for him. He's definitely going to get more game time at Brentford, and he's a very, very good player. I think he's very versatile. I think he can play as a left-sided centre-back or a sided centre-back, but I think fullback is probably his best role. And I think Chelsea are stacked. Again, another position in the academy, incredibly competitive. So I think for him, very, very good. Even though he's just signed his first professional contract last year, I think it's one of those where he needs to continue getting as much game time as possible for his development. So very, very good move for him. Fingers crossed he does well there, and we will be keeping tabs throughout the season. And that just about wraps it up, I think, for the January episode. It's gone a little bit longer than I expected, and again, apologies, slightly later. We are going to be dropping next month's episode a little bit earlier, but if you've made it this far, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Big up yourself as well. If you've made it this far, you're a real one. We appreciate you. We appreciate everybody that subscribes to this channel, and for the latest updates of what goes on here on the social media, make sure to follow at Two Blues Podcast on the Instagram, the TikTok. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube as well. You're going to be getting a brand new episode of The Blueprint for me this week. This is a brand new original series starting episode 1, Ibrahim Rabaj, a couple of weeks ago. Make sure to go back and watch that. I will leave it on the video right next to me here. But Ibrahim Rabaj is not the only player we're going to be talking about. Ryan Kavuma-McQueen is going to be episode 2 of The Blueprint, talking about just who he is, what his pathway into the first team could look like, and just how high is his ceiling. How sky high, disclaimer, spoiler, it's fucking up there. How high is his ceiling? How far can this kid go? Make sure to tune in for all of the latest and greatest Chelsea content from the first team, the academy, the loan players. Like I said earlier, if it's got anything to do with Chelsea, we cover it in this channel. Until next time, Up the Chelsea.